Hello, everybody, on this lovely March morning, all our fellow Bolg admirers. My name's Mr. Producer. I'm going to start this episode off with a little disclaimer that there's a lot I'm going to admit to have not seen this episode, but we'll get to that later. With me this lovely morning is none other than the majestic Chef Bolg,
Hey, I'm the guy who messed up the last episode.
and of course, Loke the Bard.
I'm the guy who messes up every episode.
Yes. Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of Damage Rolls. We have a lot to talk about today. Bull, good buddy, why don't you kick us off? We could go any direction we want. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's get the kind of long-term channel relevant news out of the way. Larian is no longer covering Baldur's Gate. They're not
At
doing
all.
anything D&D. They're no more DLC, no expansions. They're going to continue to update the game, but as far as content, they're done. In
Yeah,
fact,
really?
they're moving on to a new IP entirely. They're not working on anything D&D anymore.
yeah. They announced that they're basically parting ways from the Wizards of the Coast IP
Wow.
in total, where they're not going to do a Baldur's Gate 4. They will not do it. They have said they're not doing any more DLC content.
Is this because of decisions that Wizard of the Coast has made? Or, because, you just put out Game of the Year, people are going to be
Yeah,
Clamoring for the
crawling and
next-
screaming with their wallets for Baldur's Gate 4.
the waters get really muddy when you read into some of these articles
Okay.
because a lot of the articles speculate.
Gotcha.
A lot of them will say, "Yeah, this is because Wizards is, you know, fired all these people that they worked with, and now they don't want to work with them anymore," or But a lot of that is pure speculation.
Right, rumors start spreading. It's the internet.
Yeah.
I tend to believe they just released Game of the Year. They want to move on and go to bigger, better things, kind of like CD Projekt Red did, and just release something new and wholly theirs, like Divinity was. But maybe with D&D as a source code, but I would not expect them to release any Forgotten Realms D&D type actual games
Well,
going
also,
forward.
what we mentioned in our lost episode that's gone now.
Rub it in, why
Wizard-
don't you?
Yeah, Wizards has contracted with, what was it, Game Law? I'm blanking on the name now. I'm bringing it up, but I don't have the note in front of me.
It's whoever did Dreamlight for Disney.
Yeah. So, it could be they wanted too much money to do it. It could be Larian wants to move on to bigger, better things. It could be, there's 1,000 things it could be behind.
I'm
the
sure
scenes.
we'll get some more details
But
as time goes
Whatever
on.
the cause, they're done.
That's surprising. In the previous episode, I really speculated we were going to get some form of DLC expansion, just because those are huge money makers, and for a Game of the Year, you kind of have just come to expect a certain level of expansion.
And there are so many races and classes and stuff they could easily.
Oh, they have 8 more levels they could tackle.
Well, that's where I think they're leaving it to modders. There's a huge community of modders for Baldur's Gate 3 that could easily do what people have done for Bethesda with Fallout and Skyrim and all of that type of stuff, and just make new content, and they can just go have fun, do what you're gonna do. Unlike Bethesda, that's like, okay, we want cut.
Right.
But I think Larian is more about, like I said, I think they're just like, okay, we've done the big thing. Let's move on and do something we really, truly want to do. That's just my take, though.
I maybe it's just a bias that bad decisions that Hasbro and Wizards have made in recent years. I'm more leaning towards it probably being their fault. They want a bigger cut than or some kind of financial reason where they're gonna they're not gonna pay Larian enough to go through the trouble. that's just my personal theory. Again, we have no insider information on this, so it is what it is.
This is all just internet speculation as well, but
Yep. Yep.
yeah, because I know there's a couple. I don't want to spend too much time on D&D. You know, we do have another podcast called Recipes for Everything, but I know there's a couple more D&D IPs on the way, so it'll be.
He says wearing a D&D hat.
Yeah, whatever. There's a couple more D&D games on the way, and you know, like I guess D&D has had a mixed impact in mainstream media in the last couple of years, with the movie being kind of a flop and Baldur's Gate 3 being massively successful. What was the D&D game we played before that came out?
Dark Alliance. That was
that was kind of a flop too. So.
Well, Honor Among Thieves isn't really a flop. It didn't make as much domestically as they wanted, but worldwide it did pretty well. So I think there is a sequel on the horizon. We just don't know when or where it's coming.
Yeah, I think that was still up in the air.
It may have saved itself when it was in pay-per-view streaming.
Okay.
Because it was on the top of that list for a while. So it may. And again, it's Hasbro, whether they release the numbers to let us know, was it actually profitable or not.
Would you guys want Honor Among Thieves 2, or like an entirely new, like, we're going on an adventure, like, standalone?
I would love to see a horror comedy version of the Tomb of Horrors. Give me something like
a slapstick sort of.
Not really even slapstick, but kind of like the tone of Cabin in the Woods. But
yes.
Tomb of Horrors, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. But an Honor Among Thieves 2 wouldn't be bad. I mean, I just got all the pops, you know, the Funko Pops. They're all sitting in a row, so I would enjoy it. But
I don't know if it really needs a part 2. But if they put one out, I'd go see it. So,
yeah.
But I would definitely like something of that caliber again. It doesn't even have to be in Forgotten Realms. You know, I know they had talked about and then canceled, and there's been some disputes with the Dragonlance stuff. But that would have made a great movie as well.
Okay.
Hell,
I just want more D&D movies. I don't care what they are.
Because I remember watching some of the previous like D&D movies from like, I don't know if it was late 90s, early 2000s.
2000s, yeah.
There were some rough ones.
Jeremy Irons.
There were some rough ones. You know, there was some gems in there, but it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
I mean, D&D has such a wealth of opportunity. It's like we could do a horror Ravenloft. We could do a goofy, funny heist caper, you know, a la Ocean's 11. Kind of what they got into in the middle of Honor Among Thieves. It's just, I just don't know when or where we're going to get it, if it's going to be a direct follow-up. Personally, I would like what I said, the horror comedy. I think would be a great opportunity to expand people's perception of what D&D is.
Speaking of horror comedy sequels, we got a trailer for Beetlejuice 2 just last week.
It's not Beetlejuice 2.
Beetlejuice. Oh, whatever. Beetlejuice, the second power. Who cares? It's a sequel. I will make my first admittance of the episode. I have not seen the entirety of Beetlejuice 1. I've seen parts of it in my youth, but I have not sat down to watch it in its entirety, which is something I need to do.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised with this trailer. They're taking the tone just right. You know, 30 years after the fact.
It's Michael Keaton in both, right? Like he's that's crazy.
Beetlejuice in both.
Catherine O'Hara's still there.
Catherine O'Hara's still in both. Yeah. The only new big announcement I've seen is the Jenna Ortega character who's playing Winona Ryder's daughter.
Okay. Because of course Jenna Ortega's.
Yeah.
What horror movie could come out without her these days?
Yeah.
She's made herself into a scream queen, and I'm not mad about it. She's
Yeah.
a good actress.
I'm not
so-
throwing shade. It's just it's funny to see her in every
But
She's-
I like what they did, like in the video, in the trailer, where they took the silly Tallyman song from, which is like the end dance sequence song from the original movie,
Okay.
and they slowed it down and made it dramatic.
Okay, I do remember that.
I found it.
It was a very good like throwback. Also like funny. Those who recognized it and know what it was about. It was funny.
Yeah.
I liked the tone of the trailer. I'm hopeful for the movie.
It's the tone they should have gone for Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Is Ghostbusters out now?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I've not seen it.
I have
Don't
not.
intend-
I've seen
Don't
it came
intend
to
to see it till
poor
it's streamed.
reviews. Unfortunately, the pirate captain's not here with us this morning because something tells me he went and saw it this
He needs to.
weekend.
Can't hold his grog.
Well, in the previous pop culture galley, we'd had him in the brig, and then we threw him overboard, and we just don't
Now-
really know where he is these days. But
Yeah.
he's always welcome back.
We got
Games
free
with
enough
us.
to change our name. So
Yeah. But he's a big Ghostbusters fan, so it wouldn't surprise me if he saw it this weekend. I had made
who knows? I may go see it today. I don't know.
Yeah, I based on the trailers, based on the previews, I'm gonna wait for that one on stream. It just does
I
not
haven't been
look
able to
good.
find the other ones on stream. The only Ghostbusters I've seen
You
on
can-
streaming is the all female cast, and I
You
almost
can
want to do
watch-
a bit about coming in here like, oh, I watched Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters. It's amazing. It starred, I'm blanking on their names, but it would have been funny to see the pirate captain's reaction to that.
You can watch Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, for free on YouTube.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I think I just found my Sunday afternoon.
You can also watch Clue, which is another great one that I hope they never remake, even though I believe there's one coming.
That's another thing I wanted to discuss was remake culture.
We just had a remake this
We
week.
we have an interesting one coming up as this is a movie I did watch because I watched it on a streamer's movie night, The Crow, starring one of the
Bill Skarsgård.
Skarsgårds. I don't know.
Bill.
There's like 5 of them now.
The creepy one is Bill. That's all you have to
Okay.
remember.
Yes, The Crow remake starring Bill Skarsgård, where, correct me if I'm wrong, they Joker-fied The Crow?
If
they-
if you look at the Crow in this trailer, because we don't know what is going to really happen in the show,
Mm.
but the way he looks in the trailer, and then you side by side him with the Jared Leto,
Yes, the Jared
Joker.
Leto Joker. That's who I
with
was.
the, with the face tattoos and that kind of stuff. The Crow looks an awful lot. The Skarsgård Crow looks an awful lot like the Jared Leto Joker. Now the
Did
original
you guys
Crow.
see the eye tattoo?
Mhm.
He's got like a eye tattooed over his nipple. That's like incredibly distracting. I'll have to pull up a picture later. It's bad.
In the original Crow, I mean, he was a quote unquote rock star.
Hmm.
That was the thing I was gonna say. Is it looks like they're just trying to update it.
How do you even like
Because-
portray a rock star? Like, what does a rock star even go as like these days?
Do you know it? It's very easy. Do you remember Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but as Peter Parker?
Yes.
If you see a guitarist wearing that, you're going to die in the pit.
Okay.
They are the most plainclothes guys now, and it's amazing. I love it. But this is Hollywood's version of what a rock star is. Post Malone, Machine Gun Kelly. This is what they imagine.
It's just the Crow with Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, and I don't know. This preview looks very, and maybe it's more comic accurate. I never read the Crow comics. So maybe that's what they're going for, is a more comic accurate. Because with the original Crow, when Brandon Lee died in the middle of production, they had to cut some corners to finish the movie,
Mm.
and so that some of the stuff that's in this trailer that doesn't jive with the
Brandon,
original.
because it was Bruce Lee's son, right? Brandon
Yeah,
Lee.
Brandon.
Was he
Brandon Lee.
shot much similar to the Rust?
Yeah, it was a similar situation where it was
Gotcha.
supposed to be a blank, but the blank fired something and killed them.
Mm.
It was a blank blowout, I believe, where
Yeah.
where it's supposed to pop open. Instead, it stayed closed and the top popped out and hit him.
That's really scary.
Yeah, it happens far more than you think it does.
Yeah, blanks are still dangerous.
Yeah,
Leave it to professionals.
and getting within, I think there's a 3-foot. A 3-foot rule where if you're within 3 feet, those blanks will burn you if they don't explode the way I just described it and put a hole in you. So that's, and they jam all the time.
Right. So I don't know if this trailer is, like I said, more comics accurate version of the Crow, but what I'm seeing in this trailer is that's not my Crow.
Not my Crow.
What's his name?
Well,
the gravelly voice guy from the 90s. He was in everything in the 90s and the 2000s. That's my bad guy. Like,
oh the main bad guy from the original Crow. Yeah.
What's his name? God, I don't know.
Yeah. But like even little things like the face paint, where the face paint the Crow wears, he takes from the theater mask of sadness or sorrow or drama or whatever the actual name. You know, there's the happy one and the sad one side by side.
It's comedy and tragedy, yeah.
Yeah, comedy and tragedy. That's the word. That's the word I was looking for. Comedy and tragedy, which are iconic, symbolic. They have meaning.
Yeah.
Faces. In this one, he put some dark eyeliner on, and it seems to drip down his face.
He's got to be edgy and cool.
Yeah, because it's not. He's not intentionally invoking the tragic theater mask. It's happenstance.
You gotta wonder who's writing some of these.
Yeah.
Well, that's the remake thing, is that they're trying to update things, but they're doing it in a very terrible way. It happened all throughout the 2000s too. Like, horror is full of cow patty landmines of terrible remakes. I mean, look at House on Haunted Hill, classic Vincent Price movie. I have a soft spot for the one from the 2000s with Ali Larter and Taye Diggs and Jeffrey Rush, but it's pretty shitty. It's pretty awful.
Yeah, for a long time there, Hollywood had the trend where they would turn any remake of something from pre-1980s into a comedy, even stuff that wasn't supposed to be comedies originally, but because they, stuff that doesn't hold up. Obviously, when you watch it in the modern eye, some of this stuff looks pretty funny. I mean, people dressed in bell bottoms and, crazy get-ups from the 70s are not going to be taken seriously in a modern era. So when they remake something from the 70s and still put them in the bell-bottom costume, it becomes a joke. And so you got two ways to go. You can either modernize everything, change everything, throw it all out the window, or you try to stay, where you're remaking the original. Sometimes that doesn't work either.
I mean, you've got shot for shots that are just bad ideas, like the 1998 Psycho.
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn. You've got the updates that don't work, like Carrie. Really, horror is the genre that remakes like tear apart.
Yeah. I would argue almost all remakes have issues. I mean, I know you
Roadhouse.
guys haven't watched it yet, but the new Roadhouse is an assault on the original. I mean, the original wasn't Shakespeare to begin with. I mean, it was Patrick Swayze ripping dudes' throats out.
I have a MMA buddy who he wrote quite a couple paragraphs about his disdain of the remake. Is it really that bad? Like, is it not even like
Okay.
like is
in
it?
in the original, the main character is a what they call a cooler, which is a professional bouncer manager, basically manager and trainer, who goes into the rough bars and trains the staff to deal
With the rowdy crowd.
the rowdiness and make the bars not rough anymore. He's highly paid. You know, like he drives a junk. There's a joke that he drives the junker to the bar every night, even though he has a Mercedes, because they tear his car up.
Yeah.
After he's thrown them out of the bar. In this, it's a former MMA fighter who is people won't fight him anymore because he killed the guy in the ring. He's living in his car, is hired because some random fight night, the woman went to hire somebody else and saw him scare the person she was trying to hire. That's not too big of a spoiler because that's the first 5 minutes of the movie. You know, the original took place in the Midwest in a bar called the Double Deuce. The new is in the Keys.
Yeah, it's in Florida.
In a bar called the Roadhouse. Yeah, they like in the original. There's a couple there's a scene where he gets slashed with a knife across the ribs, flesh wound. You know, realistic. He goes to the hospital, gets it stapled to meet. That's how he meets the doctor woman. That's the love interest.
Okay.
In this one, in the beginning, in the parking lot, one of the very first scenes, he gets stabbed with a 6-inch knife into his gut. To the point where when the guy's not holding it, the knife is just sticking out of him. He pulls it out, duct tapes it, goes, drives away, gets hit by a train, couple other incidents. Days later, winds up in the Keys, and in the fight, rips his wound, starts bleeding again, and that's when he goes in to see the doctor.
Oh, yeah. I only ever considered the ER after a stab wound in a train accident.
Yeah, and days of travel on a Greyhound bus, and
right.
Also,
that's about as realistic as the Echo. You know.
Yeah.
BS.
Why? The original, it being in the Keys, okay, maybe it was the 80s. But the remake being in the Keys?
Yeah.
The Keys are the San Francisco of Florida. It's the gayest place in our state.
Yeah.
There's no way
Is it
giant
really?
macho muscle men
And
are going to be
everybody
out of there.
refers to the creature, the reptile that we are known for as crocodiles through the whole movie.
Are you serious?
The locals, not just.
Goddamn.
It's like, wait a minute. We're not in
Like-
Australia.
This would have made much more sense to take place in Daytona.
Yeah.
But
Or left it in the Midwest. We're a small town in the Midwest.
right.
The
Where a
Keys
bar
are
called the Roadhouse might
Yeah.
exist.
the Keys are one of the most expensive, high class, highfalutin areas as far. I mean, you can't get a hotel room in the Keys. I don't know. I haven't looked in a while. What, $500 a night?
Probably.
Easy. And they're treating it like it's some podunk hick town where everybody knows, everybody knows everybody, and
It just
you can
doesn't
have
fit
the corruption.
with, like,
The county sheriff can be in your pocket, and, where it's like,
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
everything they changed for the worse.
the
Are
the
you
remake-
guys worried about the future of media with some like who's greenlighting this? Like,
Yeah,
someone's got to be.
There's always bad movies. There's always people making, and if it's gonna, if you make a $10 million bad movie and it makes $30 million in the box office, they're gonna make another $10 million bad movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not every, and then the opposite is true. You make a great movie for $200 million in the box office, you might not ever see that great movie again.
Mhm.
That's not to say that the opposite of that doesn't exist, where a $120,000 movie makes 4 or 5 million in the box office.
Yep.
It's not that big of a return, but inevitably it's going to get its big remake later on down the road, and that's going to be a nostalgia or a cash grab, which I feel like a lot of remakes are. Uh, I know you, Mr. Producer, you watched the. I don't know if you continue to watch it, but you watched the Chucky show, right?
Yes, yes. I watched up to where they took the break. Yeah.
Okay. So a few years ago, they released a Child's Play remake,
Mhm. Oh yes, I did see that. AI Chucky.
AI Chucky, and it was entirely so that they could hold on to the rights, because otherwise they would go back to Don Mancini. And it was entirely a cash grab. They did it without Don Mancini's wishes, or even Brad Dourif or um, Jennifer Tilly, any of the major players from the Chucky series. They just went ahead and did it,
Mhm.
and it was just kind of like a slap in the face to Chucky fans, but it made a lot of money because, well, people remembered the original Child's Play kind of fell off on the series after like Bride of Chucky or whatever,
Mhm.
and then went to go see this to see if it was any good. So of course it made money, and of course MGM retains the rights.
Yeah, yeah, they'll do that a lot. Famously, the whole Spider-Man situation that we're in is, because Sony keeps pumping them out because they have to pump one out every 5 years or whatever,
Oh
to
really?
retain the right. Yeah, which very well may be the reason the Madam Web, even though it's garbage, went to the theater, because they have to put a certain number of Spider-Man
Yeah, I mean
movies
Spider
out.
Verse came out just
Yeah,
recently, but
so
yeah.
the deal may require have a live action component where,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
so they put out a Spider-Man movie and a Spider-Man universe live action.
I,
They're in
s-
the green for another 5 years to keep the rights away.
I sat in
Or
on that movie for about 10 minutes before I walked out of it. They were in the diner and the villain was just, you can't say black Spider-Man. He's just a Spider-Man suit and like an all black outfit. It was just, that's what it was. He was on ceilings stabbing people. I walked out of it because it just
yeah,
wasn't even worth the time really.
yeah, I wasn't gonna give them my money. I'm
Yep.
so
I might watch
Uh,
it as something boring to do on like, once it, because does Sony have a streaming agreement with somebody?
Netflix.
Okay.
yeah. But on the inverse, I went and saw brand new IP, Imaginary,
Mhm.
and it was a fun movie. It wasn't perfect by any means, but when this new IP comes out and it's prime time, the theaters are supposed to be packed with people, and there's 6 people in the theater. There's a marketing issue, or a um, just there's no interest when, because it's a new IP. Everybody wants to go and see the hot new remake or the sequel or the requel or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
and
the
that's a
theater
shame.
industry as a whole is having difficulties. Part of it is the streaming competition. When you only have to wait 30, 45 days, and you can watch it in the comfort of your home on your big screen with your sound system, compared to some theaters out there are rat holes, that you wouldn't want to step in, uh, because their floors are so sticky and dirty that they're just gross.
Mhm.
Yeah, we are fortunate we have an independent theater chain that is not like that. Um, but there are, especially these bigger chains, you know, the AMC's and the Regals, which are 99% of theaters out there. And I'm not saying all of them are that way. I'm saying a lot of these larger chains have some of these older theaters with poorly staffed, poorly managed at the local level, that people just don't want to deal with that. They'll just wait for it to come on streaming. They'll wait for it to come, because pandemic during the pandemic, people went out and bought them big nice TVs and the surround sounds, and where their home viewing experience is almost as good, if not better, than the theater experience. Especially when you're not on the premium screen. You go to the theater 12 or theater 20, whatever the last theater in your theater is. That screen, it's bigger than your TV, but it's not much bigger, and you're not getting the full, IMAX or Dolby Digital experience on that screen. I think to save the industry, these theaters are going to have to, they're going to have to. Maybe the answer is, instead of having 20 theaters or 12 theaters, cut it to 6, but have them all be the high quality Dolby Digital IMAX, where it's an event where you're getting the good stuff every time.
Yeah.
You got the clean seats, you've got the nice.
Yeah, there's I'll speak from my personal experience. I watched the first Dune like a lot of people from the Max account I had at home because, it was middle of COVID times, and I'll be honest, watching Dune 2 in the theater was a far superior experience. Even though I had a nice TV with a cool sound bar, it's hard to beat the theater experience on some of these things, but
You were watching it in one of the you were watching it the first weeks it came out, where it's in the premium screens and the.
yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yep.
You weren't watching it in theater 12 or 20. The screen, like I said, that screen, yes, it's probably 10 times bigger than your home TV, but it's not that first run screen.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and like for me, I have the bladder of a 7-year-old. So going to these movies and getting a drink and getting popcorn, I usually have to go to the bathroom at least once for these movies that are hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours long, like with Dune. And not to mention, if you go with on a date and things start getting a little more interesting with the date than they are on the screen, you miss things. At home, you can just, click pause.
Rewind.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have my reasons for going to see movies in the theaters. It is part of that experience, getting the popcorn, getting the drinks, the candy, and sitting there and enjoying it. But also, I am very much. There's a lot of movies I'll just wait for streaming.
Yeah. I love the theater experience, but I also realize the industry needs to make changes to save itself. Like some of the changes, like for example, we've mentioned on the theater we go to locally here, with the where they serve you at your seat with the higher quality food. Instead of paying $20 for some cheap candies that somebody's probably going to smuggle in because it only cost you $1 at the dollar store for the same candies. They're serving you. It's not gourmet. It's Chili's, Applebee's level quality, but they're serving
I'd
full
say
meal.
Chili's, definitely not Applebee's. Applebee's is.
Well, I was using that as a general retail
gauge,
threshold. Yeah, where they're about the same overall quality and price of the, like, your meal. Yes, you're paying for a meal and a theater, but your total cost of the experience, instead of going to dinner and a movie, you're getting dinner and a movie at one place. That makes sense business wise to roll those together. There's other things they could do business wise. Other places they could make extra money, besides living off the concessions, which just ain't cutting it anymore. When your ticket prices are so high, you've got to have the quality. And even this theater that we go to, that's a nicer theater, I've noticed lately, the chairs, the leather pleather on the nice reclining chairs that they have in there, has gotten really worn lately. Where
A lot of butts in those seats.
A lot of butts in those seats for a lot of years, and it's going to get to the point where, I mean, they're worn to nice comfort level right now, but it's going to get to the point where they've got to replace those seats.
Mm.
There's a cost to that.
I was reading about a theater that had like it was seats from a certain level up, but down on the bottom levels they were beds, so that
That's
you could
just
lay back
inviting
and look up.
degeneracy.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened, and they had to remove those beds. Not only that, but they were nasty because you know they weren't getting cleaned.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it like there are options. It's just what options work. Also keeping in mind that the public is the public.
Yeah.
And is going to do public things.
Some people suck.
Yeah, and you know, with the recent strikes and the recent economy stuff, where there's only 1 or 2 good movies coming out per week, do you really need 20 theaters? You know, or could you go back to the old? I remember when I was a kid, most theaters had 2 screens.
AMC has been doing, we've somehow veered way off course, but
well, we can do a lightning round with the other trailers that we have to talk about.
Yeah, we'll do a lightning round here in a minute. AMC, like they'll do like some independent stuff, which is cool. They do like their they do like monthly reruns of like putting old movies back. Like I think they might be doing Blazing Saddles for like August. I might be wrong, but they're AMC is doing some like they're trying to revive the theater culture. I know some of you guys are partial to this unnamed aforementioned theater that serves food as well.
Well, I mean, I go wherever the movie time is best for me because I don't live close to that one. It would be an hour drive for me just to go to that theater. But if that's the experience I want to go for, I will make the drive, depending on the movie. It has to be the right movie.
Yeah.
It also has to depend on who I'm going with. If I'm going with you guys, yeah, I'll make the drive because even if the movie is shit, we can sit there and laugh at it.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned I really wanted to go see the new Dune in the IMAX experience. Unfortunately, the closest one to where we live that had it in the IMAX was so inconvenient for me.
I think it's been my movie theater.
Yeah, it just the distance drive wise. Then you add in the IMAX being additional cost, and then you add in all these factors, and then it was the first week it was obviously sold out because it was a very high popular movie. By the time it would be available, I had already seen it somewhere else.
Yeah,
and that's another thing too, is that there's a lot of theaters. There's Regal, AMC, the one we go to. There's CMX.
I can think of 4 near me right now.
Yeah, there's ones that are already movies and grills and things like that. When I went to go see Dune with my date, there was 4 total people in the theater, including the 2 of us, and that was opening weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
They were playing it on 2 screens, and our screen was like the theater was empty. So yeah, of course we made out in the middle of the movie. Nobody was paying attention. But the other theater wasn't even half full. So I think there's just the location discrepancy because there is 4 or 5 theaters up here that you could choose to go to, and the one that we went to just happened to be the most expensive because it had decent stuff at it.
And of those 4 or 5 theaters, they all now have 20 screens. There's only 10 top 10 movies out right now. And even when you get to the lower end of the top 10, where they're making less than $1 million a week nationwide, those movies aren't going to be bringing in people to the seats. Do you really need 20 screens anymore? Like I said, if you build a new theater with, call it a 6-screen theater, just a small screen theater, where all 6 screens are the high end screens, high-end sound systems with the, fancy seats and setup, I think the amount you're going to make off of that theater is going to be a better return on investment than.
Well, up here I have one of those 6-screen theaters, but it is not high end. It is an old theater that still is old, and has some guys in suits standing around that are of a certain descent and maybe involved in not so legal practices. So it stays open and it's fairly busy for what it is because ticket prices are super cheap. But that's because it's a super cheap theater. I went there for one movie and I haven't gone back because it was a very poor experience. But I can see why people would go there because the ticket prices are a quarter of what they are elsewhere. Also, probably not legally gained copies of the movies, so
or there's other things it could be, money laundering.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're
Boys.
gonna need the
lightning round this.
lightning round to get back on.
What did we think of the Acolyte trailer?
I am cautiously optimistic.
That's
Same.
a great way to express it. Yeah, if it's anything, most Disney media these days, until they can gain some trust back, I'd say careful optimism is my outlook.
There's a divide in the Star Wars universe. There's
There
those who
always
want
is.
there's those who want the just standard sci-fi experience.
Mhm.
They don't need lightsabers and Jedi to be part of their experience. And then there's the part that wants heavy.
Yeah, give
lightsabers
me
and
the
Jedi.
Force and
Yeah.
yeah.
This is going to be catering towards that side that wants the Jedi
Where do you guys fall?
experience.
I am on both spectrums. I really enjoyed Andor as much as I really enjoyed the original trilogy, and I am an apologist for the sequel trilogy. So, I really enjoyed those too.
I think Star Wars without the Force and without Jedi, that just makes it regular sci-fi.
Mhm.
I like regular sci-fi. Don't get me wrong. I watch a lot of regular sci-fi and hard sci-fi, and but that is not the Star Wars audience. I think Star Wars, what makes it Star Wars of it is the added element of the fantasy. You don't necessarily have to have just the Jedi and the Sith. You could have, other fantasy elements.
Mhm.
But I think that's what you need to have in
No,
Star Wars.
I think they do. Like, I know in the Clone Wars they get into the Witches of Dathomir,
Yeah.
which plays on that
But
fantasy element.
This one of the big problems with Star Wars is they kill off all the Jedi and Sith before the original trilogy, but yet somehow they keep, because they want Jedi and Sith in the movie, they keep having to add, no, this one didn't die. No, this one didn't die either.
well,
no, this one didn't.
That's why
back,
I like Acolyte is going back.
Yeah.
So that's a good decision because now where with the original trilogy, Jedi and Sith are legends and myth because even though only a couple decades have passed, those groups are completely gone. So now being able to go back and look at those legends and myths, I think is a very good idea.
Yeah, and now you can have 30 new characters in this High Republic era who are all Jedi on they don't have to ever meet each other or talk to each other. They could be in different parts of the universe doing different things, and you're fine because there's thousands of Jedi.
It's a big old galaxy, and there's a lot of stories that could be told in space. And what I like about this is it's not entirely, but it feels like it's a step away from the Skywalker saga in which we've been, I don't want to say entrapped because not, we've we've been contained within the Skywalker saga for Star Wars media for the last however long, a long time.
Hopefully in this they don't go to Tatooine.
Oh my
Not
God.
once, not
That'd
one
be-
time.
That's our benchmark.
That's the benchmark,
That's
whether
the
it's a
benchmark.
good show or a bad show.
Do
If they ever go to Tatooine, riot.
Yes. All right. Lightning round.
Lightning round is not being very lightning.
All right. Well, I wanted to speak on that real quick. Lightning
Speaking
round.
of sci-fi,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alien Romulus. I watched the trailer just before. What do you guys think?
return to form.
Again, cautiously optimistic. Alien and Aliens were excellent movies. Alien 3 they made some creative decisions in 3 that hurt the franchise as a whole.
It was still a fun movie.
What
Yeah,
came
I
after
will
3?
say that.
Yeah, 4
Resurrection is where it tanked.
4 is Resurrection.
hard.
Yeah, Resurrection. They attempted to correct the decisions they made in 3 without retconning and without which it just was
Okay.
terrible.
And
I
then
personally have not seen the Prometheus prequel.
Duology. Yeah.
would 5
Um,
technically be Prometheus?
No.
No.
Aliens versus Predator would be 5.
And Alien
No.
vs Predator 2?
No,
would
wait,
be
that's a prequel too. That's
All right, I'm gonna have to
so-
do some research on my.
Yeah. It would be so in the timeline. It goes Alien versus Predator. Well, if we're talking about events that happened first, Prometheus is first because Prometheus, the engineers, created us, humanity. So that was first, and then later on, after the events of Alien versus Predator Requiem.
Bulk's like, let me get my whiteboard real quick.
yeah.
Well, here's the thing: the whole timeline is screwed because they're saying that Walter created the xenomorph when we've had xenomorphs for ages in the Alien versus Predator canon. So it's
It
it's
gets
a mess. It's a mess. So I am optimistic that it is a return to form Alien movie.
Yeah, this preview looks like the original Alien movie. If they were to cut the trailer for it today,
Okay.
this could have been the trailer for it. So it's in the trailer looks like it is the theme, tone, and everything the original. Because Aliens, in and of itself, was a
Was a
big
tone shift.
change, tone-wise. Like the original Alien's a horror movie. The Aliens is more of an action movie
Okay.
with horror elements, I guess is how you.
Bzz, lightning round number 2. House of the Dragon. I have not seen House of the Dragon season 1. Actually, I didn't have Max at the time. I'm still suffering a little PTSD from our last separation from not our beloved D&D Dungeons and Dragons, but D&D the directors. It left me a little scarred with the end of Game of Thrones, and I haven't been back to the universe since. Is it worth spending the time to go watch season 1 in preparation
Yes.
for season
Yes.
2?
House of the
Okay.
Dragons is excellent.
Okay.
Season 1.
Because I watched there's 2 trailers. House
Green and Black.
Green and
House-
Black.
Because without having watched season 1, you don't understand.
Yeah.
The House Targaryen has split into 2 halves.
Okay.
The greens and the black, depending who they're supporting for the throne.
Okay.
Um,
And this is a Game of Thrones prequel, right?
it is, it's like 200 years before Game of Thrones,
Okay.
where
Dragons were still a threat and a power.
So there
Yeah.
are actual
Yeah.
dragons in
There are-
this show.
in
Okay.
episode 1 they had 10 adult dragons
Oh wow. Okay.
under the yoke of House Targaryen,
Okay.
but more are born in season
Yeah.
1.
Okay. All right. I'll
So
spend.
the actual count at the end of season 1 is different than at the beginning. But
So they're really like making up for the promise of that long blue balling of Game of Thrones where the
Yeah.
dragons are coming.
yeah, and you will be getting dragon fighting on dragon.
Okay.
This is going to be a war between, enabled armies versus dragon enabled armies.
All right,
They're
now my interest has been piqued.
yeah.
So
The first season has a lot of time jumps because it's the setup for why the war happens. Um, so you got to prepare yourself for that because some people that hits them, like there's a 6 month time jump between episodes 1 and 2, and then there's like I don't think there's a jump between 3, but then like between 3 and 4, then there's like a 3 year time jump, and then like between like 5 and 6, there's like a 10 year
oh my
time
gosh.
jump.
Okay.
But it's setting up, why each of these groups are on which side they're on, and it does a pretty good job. The show, I think, leans a little heavily Team Black, season 1.
Okay.
But they do, even though they lean Team Black as being right, you understand Team Green's reasoning and drive. They're not
Okay.
they're not burning the city because their nephew decided he didn't want to sleep with her.
Yes. yes.
Gotcha. What they're doing makes sense from their point of view for their own survival and quest for power.
All right. I'll have to check it out. Deviation from the lightning round real quick. Speaking of D&D, Bulk, do you have their names off rip? It's like DB Wiseoff and
The directors of the runners of the original.
Not off the top of my head, no.
Well, they directed. I believe they were the directors of the 3-Body Problem, which Loke and I.
They and the guy from True Blood. 3 of the. Instead of just being the 2 of them, it's a 3-man team.
Is it okay?
That brings but the 3-Body Problem.
I found that out towards the later half of my watching experience, but for the most part, I have enjoyed what they did with 3-Body Problem, despite my trauma from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, the 3-Body Problem is, like I said, I sat down when we delayed this show Friday. I was I'll sit down and I'll watch a couple episodes of this and finish it up over the weekend. I wound up sitting there and watching the entire thing till 2 in the morning.
Wow.
To finish out all 8 episodes in one sitting. I liked it that much.
I'm on episode 7. I have the last episode to finish up. But
you're
saying it's part of a trilogy, right?
It is part of It is the first book to a trilogy. It is hard sci-fi. That is the thing that's gonna, I think, hinder it the most. If you are not a fan of hard sci-fi, you are probably not going to like this. And we're talking the old-fashioned hard sci-fi, like the Isaac Asimov and Dune, original hard sci-fi.
Orson Scott Card.
Yeah, Orson Scott Card. Yeah, and there are some elements you can see where he's the author, who is a Chinese author, was originally written in Chinese, but you can see some things. Like that he's taken from other art, like Scott Card, for example. There's an idea presented in season 1. I'm trying not to spoil, but with using cryogenic freezing chambers. Mm-hmm. It's just an idea that's presented. It's not really a spoiler unless it happens in season 2. But there's an idea presented where the leaders of the world freeze themselves for 50 out of the 52 weeks a year, and that allows them to live hundreds and thousands of years, which is the premise of an Orson Scott Card high sci-fi novel.
What? I'm sorry. Can you say what is it the premise of?
The author Orson Scott Card.
Okay.
He's the guy who did Ender's Game.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of his novels that were not in the Ender's Game series.
Yeah.
He did the same thing.
Gotcha.
So the only thing I've seen of this show yet, because I don't have Netflix anymore, is a clip where like they're watching the night sky flicker on and off in Morse code.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a code.
It's a code. It's not Morse code. Yeah.
and it's just a series of numbers counting down.
Yes.
And that piqued my interest because I'm like, okay, so the night sky is flicking on and off
Yeah.
for
Yeah, and
everybody around the world.
they do a very good job of explaining the hows and the why.
It's
The thing
very
with the show is,
chaotic to hop into.
yeah, you have to get to a lot of the answers don't start coming until episode 3.
Yeah, episode 2 is like episode 1 was like, okay, I'm curious, and then end of episode 2 I think is when the blinking night sky is like, all right,
Yeah,
I guess I'll watch it, you know.
If you're a fan of shows like Dark,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like these mystery box shows, but this one it's not just a mystery box. It's the beauty of it is there is there is an answer behind the mystery
Yes.
that by the end of season 1 most people are aware of what that answer is, um, and then season 2 I guess will be what they're gonna, because the last 2 episodes or so, I from what I've seen on YouTube and other things, because I've not read the original books, um, but I guess the last couple episodes actually come from book 2 that they've moved into season 1, which is when how the world starts to respond to what is an existential threat.
An incoming alien invasion. Could you imagine?
Oh, you're gonna spoil it.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
But yeah, okay.
A little late on
Spoiler,
that.
but it's incoming generations away. It is not incoming in our lifetime.
It's an interesting premise worth watching.
Yeah.
I apologize
So
if I just spoiled it for anybody.
Yeah.
It's a sci-fi. It's not a
Yeah.
huge jump, but it's worth a
Right.
watch. If you can
Yeah.
get through the chaotic, because like in the first 10 minutes I was telling somebody like it jumps around a lot and you kind of it requires some context clues to kind of get your feet set, but it's worth the investment.
And they do some things, like I was surprised, given what we see propaganda wise about Chinese censorship, how heavy it is critical of like the Maoist revolution. Apparently that is directly from the book as well, and past the Chinese censors, as historically accurate as it was. But yeah, they have also global. I guess in the original book, it all takes place pretty much. The main characters are all Chinese because it was written in China for a Chinese audience. In the Netflix presentation, they've moved them to Oxford for a lot of these characters, and they've globalized. This scientist is from China. This one is from the U.S. This one is, and they're all now at Oxford in England. So they do make some changes to make it more palatable for U.S. audiences, or global audience, I should say, because it's not just U.S. ones.
I know. Americans forget we sometimes forget there's a world outside of us.
Yeah, but they didn't make them all American either. They like I said, they have global. They kept a global group, and it takes place mainly in it. The main group is in England most of the time. Although they go other places like Panama and China, and
so
it jumps around.
One of the, I guess you'd call him a detective, is played by the guy who does Wong in Marvel. He does a really good job with the characters. It's nice to see him kind of expanding his acting chops a little bit. Yeah.
To the point, I had to look up and make sure it was that I wasn't just being a racist, thinking because I was like, man, this guy reminds me a lot of Wong, but he was enough different that I was actually questioning whether it was the same guy.
Am I doing a racism?
Am I doing a racism?
It's like, yeah, it's like, I think it's not they all look alike type of thing, right? I have to admit, because personality-wise, he does such a good job acting that he's not the silly Wong
that we
you're
know
used
from
to
Marvel,
seeing him as. His hair is a little different. He's a little, He's obviously not dressed in sorcerer
Shaolin
robes.
robes,
and-
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so it was one of those things where it's like I had to go back and double check to make sure it really was him. Uh,
That's funny. That.
but excellent move, excellent show. The only downside besides it being hard sci-fi is it is the first of a trilogy, so the ending may not satisfy everyone. It is a good stopping point, obviously, because although they did kind of cross over into the second book a little bit, but that it is a good stopping point. But with it being another 2 years, a year till the second season, if ever, comes out, I don't know if it's gonna leave you chomping at the bit, wanting more.
I've considered looking into the book now. It's piqued my interest enough, and I want to see what happens.
But
we are
Ka-chow, back to the lightning round.
Yeah.
Lightning round. We got deviated
We're
again.
right at the hour mark, so we'll just knock out these last two real quick. We had Rebel Moon Part 2 trailer come out. Scargiver, I believe it was called.
Scargiver, yeah.
I made a claim a few weeks back, a couple months back, I suppose now, that I'm going to rewatch and reassess when I claimed that Rebel Moon had done better than anything post original set after after the 6 Star Wars movies. I claimed Rebel Moon was better. I want to rewatch, reassess, and re-give my statement on where I think ratings fall after Scargiver comes out.
Being free on Netflix, I will watch Scargiver.
Honestly,
I don't know if I would go see it in a theater.
I watched the trailer, and their humanoid robot makes C-3PO look kind of like a little bitch. Their humanoid robot was fucking running through a field with an assault rifle. I've seen C-3PO ever do anything close to
make
that.
C-3PO look like a little bitch.
C-3PO also was special effects from the 70s.
Oh,
and they had to keep him true. I mean, he's an actual person in a suit made of plastic plates that are hard to move.
The reason they
just
gave him those bars on his arms is because he couldn't bend them anyway. So they gave him those bars to make a reason why he couldn't bend them.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm. It's on my I'll watch it when it comes to Netflix list, but it's not something I'm super hyped for.
Okay.
So that one we can shorten for the lightning round.
The last little bit was season 2 of Invincible has been coming out. I've been behind on that. Give us your take real quick.
We missed a trailer.
Oh shoot! What is that? Is that Arc trailer? Is that the dinosaurs?
Yeah, the Arc video game is being turned into a animated show on Paramount Plus.
Really?
Yes. And it has 3 big names attached: Gerard Butler, Russell Crowe, and Vin Diesel.
If they don't throw shit at each other, then it's like, why even watch? Because that's like the best part of Arc. You land on a beach naked, you take a poop, and you throw it at your friends, and that's the best goddamn part of the game.
I didn't even know that was part of the game. I didn't play it. I landed on the beach, gathered some stuff up, and it was like, this game is dumb, and turned it off.
I don't like survival games, so I avoided it.
Yeah, I do like survival, and I still didn't like it. So anyway, all right. So Invincible now.
Yes,
right.
The last little bit was Invincible.
Oh well, real quick before Invincible, they have announced a Sims movie with Margot Robbie as a producer, perhaps Kate Middleton playing
Sims movie?
Bella Goth. Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
The Sims video game turned into a movie.
Probably along the same lines as Barbie, though. If they don't talk only in Simlish and somebody doesn't erase a ladder getting in and out of a pool at some point, we're
on track to getting a fucking Rubik's Cube movie at some point. They're like,
yeah.
There was a Rubik's Cube cartoon TV show in the 80s.
Was there?
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Yes. He had like arms and legs and like He
Oh
could
my-
do stuff, but I don't remember. It's a long
Rubik's
time ago.
cartoon.
But he had arms and legs, and if he got scrambled up, he couldn't help or do stuff. But he was
Oh
almost like a
my-
genie.
Oh my god. This thing looks demented.
But he was almost like a genie as long as he was solved.
Okay.
And so every episode there would be something that caused him to get scrambled up, so that there would be a problem that couldn't just be solved by him. But
being a magic Rubik's Cube genie.
yes, exactly.
Oh man, what a way to end the show.
Well,
You guys have any last thoughts before we sign off
we
here?
said the word Invincible 3 times, but we didn't talk about it.
Well,
I haven't seen
yeah.
season 2. There's my thoughts.
Okay.
Give it your thoughts, Luke.
Yeah, I did not notice the change in art style for the first half of season 2. I noticed it a lot more in the second half.
Okay.
It's probably because there's more time spent on Earth with characters you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so when you see one of the ones it's most obvious with is the Immortal.
Okay.
You can tell he is Abraham Lincoln, whereas only in the flashback in season 1 did you realize, oh wait, the Immortal is Abraham Lincoln. The way
That's
the art
stupid.
style draws him in season 2, he's like, oh yeah, that's obviously Abraham Lincoln the whole time.
He's really Abraham Lincoln?
Yes, he's literally Abraham Lincoln. The Immortal is Abraham Lincoln. You didn't know that?
I didn't. But I guess we'll see.
But
see.
in season 1, he really doesn't look like Abraham Lincoln.
No, he doesn't. Maybe
But
is it
look,
just like a
when-
one-off line that I missed, or is it like
One of the when he was, it's like shows the flashbacks when he died.
yeah?
One of the flashbacks, he puts on the black top hat of Abraham Lincoln, and
Okay, I'll have to.
yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch.
But like now, they're not hiding it in this. The art
He's
style,
just straight up Abraham
he
Lincoln.
straight up looks like you can't unsee it when you look
Okay.
at him in the season 2 art.
Okay.
That's not good or bad so much as a change.
Okay.
The show quality wise has been very good, story wise and
Do you,
events.
do you think the break killed some of the momentum that the show had?
Yeah. The break was only there because of the writer's strike.
Because,
stuff,
yeah.
to stretch, new, because Amazon doesn't have the quantity new programming the Netflix and them have yet. They're getting there, but they don't have it yet.
Well, with Paramount Plus, they have kind. Does Amazon own Paramount Plus?
No.
It's hard to keep up these days.
Yeah, and Amazon gets tricky because you can, like, portal through Amazon to other
Yeah.
things, and it makes it look like there's more to their system.
Yeah.
That is not, and then until your bill comes in, you find out you're paying an extra add-on for each of those.
Mm.
Because like you could watch Max and Paramount Plus and Stars and a couple others all through your Amazon Prime app. But yeah, but I think the reason they split it was mainly because of the writer's strike to
Yeah.
spread out content of a particular, like, they needed something to go take them from when the Gen V ended through to when you're getting closer to when the next boys or superhero-esque fantasy type genre. Just say genre. When's the next genre show come out on Amazon?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a while. So they needed something in the gap, and so they split.
Well, it does seem like post writer strike we're starting to get some shows ramped back up. Sure. May even call it a stable era of streaming. Coming out of the
Bulk
chaotic
hasn't seen
era.
Three Body yet. It's a
But
three-body problem, Bulk, is a math problem. A high calculus problem that's so impossible to solve that nobody is going to dispute it. Well, it's not impossible. It's so hard to solve that when they say it's impossible, nobody will dispute it because it's so hard you're not going to try.
Yeah.
Well, if I ever get Netflix again, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But that's if.
We are running a little over our time now, but that's never a problem, I suppose. I said about everything I want to say, I think. You guys have anything
April
left on
11th.
your mind? What's April 11th?
Fallout.
Oh, really?
That's going to be a big show.
I'm in-
'Cause I'm going to have a lot to talk about.
When is do we have a show right soon after that?
I think
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
the day after.
Yeah.
Is it- You'll have
That's
a lot
gonna
of
be a big
homework on. You gotta watch the whole thing
Uh,
Thursday night because
I
we'll be
will-
talking about it on Friday.
I will take my laptop to work to watch it at work.
I was referring to Mr. Producer. He's the
Oh,
one.
well, yeah.
He's the one that
Take
might
your
not.
Are you
laptop
gonna-
to work.
Are
to
you going to watch
it
the
at-
entire thing?
I will, like I said, I will probably watch the entire thing before we start on that Friday.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I guess I have more homework.
We will probably do an entire episode on nothing but that on that Friday.
Just Fallout. It'll be Damage Rules number 4. Fallout.
Fallout.
All right, folks. That's our time for today. I'm Mr. Producer. Say goodbye, Bolg.
Goodbye, Bolg.
Say goodbye, Loke.
Yeah.
Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, whatever you can do to help us out. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. We will see you next time for our very special Fallout episode. Later, guys.